Welcome to It's a Mystery, where we take you into the world of the unknown.
Come with us on a mysterious journey as we try to find a solution to these intriguing mysteries.
We meet a man who had a terrifying encounter on his way to work. This is a spooky one.
We reveal a hidden force that causes earthquakes and makes mountains grow.
And do the secrets of your future lie in the palms of your very own hands?
It's a mystery. What happened to a normal man who went about his normal business every day? Normal, that is, until the 6th of February, 1989.
Barry Stern lived in Staines and worked for Battenberg's, a local bakery firm. He used to drive around to various hot bread shops and supermarkets, delivering bread and cakes. Battenberg's were a well-respected company in the Staines area, and because of this, Barry had to work to a tight schedule and always made sure that he made his deliveries by lunchtime. However, one morning on his way to a local supermarket, he was delayed by 20 minutes. This delay proved to be the most significant factor in this incredibly strange tale. Being 20 minutes late, Barry put his foot down, well aware that he should have been at the St Agnes Road roundabout 20 minutes earlier. As he approached the roundabout, he slowed down and scanned the traffic. He saw something that was so scary, he didn't know what to do. The colour drained from his face and he began to sweat. Barry found it difficult to describe the unsettled feeling when all of a sudden their eyes met across the roundabout. He explained that it was an emotion that made his stomach tingle in such a way as he had never experienced in all his 42 years.
Can you imagine what he could have seen that would have made him feel this way? Had he witnessed a ghostly apparition from beyond the grave? Had he encountered some strange supernatural force? Or was he about to experience some other macabre phenomena from beyond the realms of human imagination? What do you think?
What Barry saw was something deeply disturbing. It troubled him in such a way that it has tainted his every dream from that day to this. What Barry saw across that roundabout was a white van. Nothing strange about that, you might say. But the van was identical to the one that he was driving, with the same orange lettering on the side. The driver turned his head towards him, and then Barry was shocked in a way that he had never known before. Barry Stern actually saw himself.
What Barry saw was a rare, bizarre phenomena called a doppelgänger. A doppelgänger is the expression used when someone thinks that they have seen themselves, and Barry was convinced that he had. Now, the term originated in Germany. Translated, it means your double turning up in advance of you. Other recent reports of doppelgangers have stated that a man mowing a lawn watched an identical person walking alongside and mirroring his every movement. In another report, a man who was eating his lunch watched his double, who was sitting opposite him, copying him. Can you imagine bumping into yourself? Have you ever seen your own or anyone else's double? So how did Barry feel?
I was scared stiff. I didn't know what to do, whether to follow the van and see if it was really me or run a mile. Truth was, I didn't move for 5 minutes. I was so stunned. But one thing I do know is I wasn't imagining things. It wasn't someone who looked like me. It was really me. I know it was me.
So what do you think you'd have done? And is a doppelganger a trick of the light, a trick of the imagination, or is it a tangled web of mysticism and intrigue all rolled into one? It's a mystery just how you can move by standing perfectly still on exactly the same spot.
I'm moving? Go on, take a look. It's absolutely amazing. I'm moving before your very eyes.
And Neil's not joking.
Can't you see? Well, look, watch closely. I'm travelling as we speak.
So how can Neil be moving, but at the same time not move a muscle? And no, it's nothing to do with the Earth spinning. Could it be by teleportation? By mind over matter? And what if I told you that Neil has absolutely no control over where he's going to, that a powerful ancient force is controlling Neil's journey? What is it? What is this mysterious force that can move you without moving a muscle?
Well, it's all to do with this. The Earth. Now, the Earth's surface is really made up of about 15 main plates, shown here, which fit together a bit like a jigsaw. And as you see, all the countries and all the seas and oceans sit on top of these plates. Now, of course, the Earth doesn't have big red lines like this, but you can sometimes see the cracks where plates meet with the naked eye. This is a huge crack that runs 270 miles where two plates meet. It's the famous San Andreas Fault in California, America.
But the problem is that these plates are always moving in different directions and at different speeds. Well, this movement has massive effects. It can cause mountains to rise up, like this one, Mount Everest, and when two plates crash against each other, it can cause earthquakes. Over 500,000 of them every year. So every single minute, the Earth shakes somewhere, even in this country. And this old movie shows the devastating effect of earthquakes. Now, all this plate movement means that the land we stand on is literally moving beneath our feet. It's moving so much that in millions of years, you wouldn't be where you are today. In fact, all of this movement is going to change the face of the Earth as we know it.
For example, over millions of years, Africa will eventually split in two, with the top half crashing upwards into Europe. And the ground that we're standing on will move as Britain gets pushed further into the cold north. So who knows, in 150 million years' time, London, as we know it, might be more like this.
What's certain is that for those of you who go on holiday to the Mediterranean, for sun, sea and sand, well, you'll need to think again, because in a few million years' time, the blue Mediterranean Sea will disappear, leaving little more than a murky, muddy pond.
And that's just our part of the world. In fact, there'll be other massive changes all over the globe.
So that's how you can move without moving from the same spot. The ground is moving beneath your feet.
Only there's no need to pack your suitcase just yet, because all this shunting and shifting is happening about the same speed your fingernail grows. It's a mystery what magic is. For thousands of years, people have performed magic. Even the word magic conjures up images of myths and legends full of wizards, witches and sorcerers, all weaving their spells through the swirling mists of time. But what is magic? Is it really some mystical entity that we don't understand? Does magic even exist?
Well, look at this TV. Simple to us, but go back 200 years and no one would have understood what it was or how it worked. It would have seemed impossible.
A medieval man would have been terrified by this, a lump of plastic that speaks.
Hello?
It would have seemed like some weird magic, but to us, it's merely a mobile phone. And you know, we're the same today. If we see something which looks impossible, or if we can't work out how something is done, we say, it must be magic.
Well, we're going to try and discover some of the secrets behind magic. And we'd like to introduce a magician. He's not a wizard, he's not a witch, he's Paul Zenon. So Paul, what is magic?
Well, I think basically magic is about keeping alive the sense of wonder these days, anyway. And it's basically about making the impossible look possible. That's the general idea.
Well, can you show us how it's done? How can you make the impossible possible?
Well, I think mainly magicians rely on 3 tools for doing magic. I mean, one's sleight of hand, there's visual illusion, and there's misdirection. I'll give you an example of sleight of hand, first of all. Now, you've heard the expression that the hand's quicker than the eye.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not so sure. What do you reckon? Not a lot in it, really, is there? But this is sleight of hand. Watch.
Wow.
Sleight of hand.
Incredible. I'm standing really close to you and I couldn't see how that was done. Brilliant. But could you use sleight of hand for something bigger? I mean, what if you wanted to make an elephant disappear, for example?
Well, I think you need big hands if you're going to make an elephant disappear by a sleight of hand. But what you use then is like sort of visual and psychological illusion. I'll give you an example, right? This is when the eye thinks it's seeing something that it's not really seeing.
Right.
Now, you might have tried this at school, right? Get yourself a pen or a pencil, you try this at home, and just waggle it, hold it very gently, waggle it up and down.
I remember doing
Now, this is like a sort of illusion, and it looks as though the pencil's becoming all sort of limp and wobbly.
So how do you explain that phenomenon then?
Well, it's quite easy to explain, actually. What you use is a rubber pencil like that, and you just wobble it about.
But that's cheating.
Well, that's what magic's all about, cheating, you see. I mean, it's one of the great things about magic. It's one of those jobs where you can actually tell fibs and con people and they don't mind, you know.
Now, you mentioned misdirection. What's that?
Yeah, well, misdirection is probably the most complicated. I'll show you by doing a trick first rather than
Okay.
explaining it. Okay. Now, this is a weird one because the viewers at home will actually know how this trick's done and hopefully you won't.
I'm
okay.
sure I won't.
So what I'm going to get you to do is to look at these cards at home, right? So she's going to get a choice of 52 completely different playing cards. Now, I'm going to riffle through these cards and just stick your finger in anywhere you like. Okay. Now, we'll take the card below where you cut.
Right.
Keep that to yourself. Have a look at
Okay.
it. Now, I've got a prediction here. Now, I'm going to take this out, and you ready?
Yep.
Free choice.
Okay.
Was that the card you chose?
No, it wasn't. Sorry.
What do you mean, no?
Well, no, it's different.
You sure? Mm-hmm. This calls for emergency measures. Watch this. Concentrate. Was it, let me see, it was a black card.
Yeah, it's a black card.
In fact, it was a club.
Yep.
But it was a bigger card, wasn't it? It wasn't a 3, was it a 9? Was it in fact, I've got your card on my mind. Was it the Jack of Clubs?
Yeah.
Watch this.
Brilliant, look.
The Jack
of
of
clubs.
Clubs. You see, you've got to use your head. And that's misdirection. Thank
Well,
you.
thanks very much. So magic really is all about making something impossible appear possible. It's easy when you know how, or sort of anyway.
Fabulous tricks. So, today's magic is all about illusion, trickery, and having a bit of fun fooling the other person. The days of wizards, witches, and sorcery have disappeared forever. Haven't they?
Hello, my name's Eve Edmunds and I want to tell you about something that happened a few weeks back which was rather frightening. About 2 o'clock in the morning I was woken up by this strange whooshing, sort of rushing noise as if a wind were blowing everything around. I was just deciding that perhaps it was something outside when suddenly the burglar alarm went off. I put my ear up against the living room door, but I could hear nothing. I shone the torch all around, but the only thing I could see was a lot of ash all over the carpet. And then I felt a rather cold breeze, and looking around, discovered that one small pane of glass in one of our windows had broken. I carefully shone the torch out through the window, and there was a lot more glass outside. So obviously, something had gone from inside out.
What a weird story. So what could it have been in that room? What could have been responsible for the noise? The ash all over the carpets and the small window broken mysteriously from the inside. What could have invaded Eve's house that night? What do you think?
A few days later, my mystery was solved. There's a large pond in our garden that has a lot of wild ducks on it, and just recently they've taken a fancy to sitting on our roof. Well, what had obviously happened had been that a duck had fallen down the chimney, flapping its wings as it fell, and this caused the whooshing, rushing noise that I'd heard that had startled the dogs and me. It landed in the fireplace, dragging with it lots of ash and bits from the fire. As it walked through the room, it set off the burglar alarm. And seeing the moon, perhaps through the window, it had flown straight at the window and straight through it. I'm sure that is the answer, because a few days later, while I was in the room, it happened again.
It's a mystery what may be revealed from the palm of your hand.
For a start, it's said that you can tell your future from the lines on your hand. This practice is a very old one and can be traced back to ancient texts. Now, if you take a close look at your own hand, the palm contains lots of different lines. And although there are no two palms the same, most people have these three main lines. That one, and that one.
And these main lines are the heart line, the headline, and the lifeline. Now, the ancient palmists say that the lifeline measures the amount of energy a person has within. In other words, whether you are a get-up-and-go sort of person or a couch potato. Now, if this line starts low down near the thumb, then you might be a person who doesn't like themselves very much. If you've got a little gap in the lifeline, it is thought to mean that you could have a dramatic change of lifestyle. For example, one day you might not have much money, and then the next day you may win the lottery. Or when you get older, you may move from a boring job to one that makes you rich and famous. However, beware, it could work the other way round.
Oh no. Well, it's said that any line found crossing the lifeline represents an obstacle, and these crossing lines may mean that you'll come face to face with a big problem that you'll have to work round or solve.
Many people say that if you have a short lifeline, you won't actually live very long. Well, take no notice of this. It's an old wives' tale. In fact, I've got a very short one and I'm still here.
Well, that's good. Now let's take a look at the headline. This line crosses the middle of the palm. Now, some people believe that the headline can show how clever you are, and others say it shows whether you are an imaginative person.
Well, wide separation of the head and lifelines, like that, means that you are the travelling type. And when you are older, you may want to leave home and go to college or even travel the world.
If the headline starts from a point within the lifeline, it's likely that you're occasionally bad-tempered. And a forked ending on the headline often means that you're very creative. What about you, Neil?
I've got a couple of forks on my headline, actually.
That's funny, I thought you would.
It is said that the heart line, which is near the top of the palm, represents how fit and healthy you are now and will be in the future. Now, the deeper this line is, the more likely you are to enjoy sports and other activities.
Now, if you're a girl and the heart line starts near the bottom of your first finger, it means that you're likely to be a bit of a romantic.
However, if the line is in the same position and you're a boy, you could be a bit moody. So, what does your hand say about you? It's amazing how much may be revealed just by looking closely at the palm of your own hand.
It's just one big problem. There's no real proof. So that's some of the world's mysteries solved, and some remain unsolved.
So join us next time as we delve into more unearthly secrets.
But here's one last mystery for you to solve.
A plane load of Australians crashed on the border between France and Spain. The mystery is, where should the survivors be buried?
Can you solve it? We'll reveal the answer next time.
Last week's final mystery was, how did a man in a Rolls Royce who parked outside a hotel in Park Lane know immediately that he was bankrupt? He was, of course, on a Monopoly board.